As well as flying donuts, there are a number of fixed traps on the different levels. To keep this simple, all these hazards are part of a single sprite with 3 different costumes, one for each level. So first we're going to need to create a new sprite. So we're going to go over to the sprite section and we're going to create a blank sprite. So I didn't mean to do that. I meant to go to the paintbrush, and here is our blank sprite. We are going to rename this blank sprite Hazards. Now we need to add a setup code for the levels. The setup code selects the correct costume for the level and centers it on the stage just like in our platforms. So we're going to go back to code and on our hazard sprite, set up the setup code. So I'm going to go to the events and when I receive setup. Once again, this will set up your hazards for the different levels. Since we are doing them through different costumes, we need to have it switch the costume depending on the level. So I'm going to go to looks and find switch costume, and I need to go to my variables and change it to level. So switch costume to the level. And we want the costumes to appear right dead center. So when I go to motion, we're going to send them to the XY coordinates of 0, X, and 0, Y. Remember, that is right in the center of our stage. So that's where they'll appear. We also need to set up start. So what the hazards are going to do when it gets the broadcast message start. Just like everything else, we've done a start and a setup. So when I receive start, so what this is happening, this is a hazard that when your dog touches it, the game will be over. Because just like in any game, you run into something you're not supposed to run into, you lose a life. In this case, your game's going to be over. So it is going to wait until it's touching the dog. So I'm going to go to sensing and find touching. And remember, that's player block. And then it's going to broadcast game over. So now we have our code. So this is the code to end the game if the dog touches the hazard. Now we're going to need 3 costumes for our hazards. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my hazard sprite. I'm going to click over to costumes, and the first costume I'm going to look up, I'm going to find the cheesy poofs. So I'm going to look for cheesy puffs, and that's going to be my first costume. The next costume I need 2 Cake A sprites. So I'm going to go choose a costume, Cake A, and then I need it again. So I'm going to go back, choose the costume, and find Cake A again. Next, we need to delete costume 1, and we need to arrange our costumes and change their size. So you want to arrange them approximately where you see them, where I'm going to put them. So I'm going to click on the selection tool. So I need to resize. So I will go to my selection tool and make a selection box around my different costumes. I want to shrink it down, and then I'm going to move it to a different spot. So you want to put your things approximately where I'm going to put them. You can tweak them later. I'm going to do 2 cakes. So I'm going to, once again, selection tool, select around my cake, make my cake a little smaller. Okay, that was too small. So in selection mode, no, it's not. Now let's put our cake for level 2. We're going to select it, shrink it down, and then move it up a little bit. And I'm going to copy and paste because I want another cake just like this for my level 2, but I want it to be down here. And then finally on costume 3, I will select again, shrink it down a little, and move it approximately here. Like I said, do not worry if they're not exactly in the right places. We will fine tune them.